Good morning, everybody. Hope y'all are having an absolutely wonderful morning. I assume no one is joining me here, but that's totally fine. Basically, I'm going to be doing this show every morning. This is the Internet Morning Entreprayneur. Basically, I'm going to be talking about what I'm trying to do to become more successful or at all successful. I'm going to be talking about the steps I'm taking, and I'm hoping to start a conversation. I'm hoping that people will join me on this journey. And really, my goal is to just kind of spread some ideas. If you're working towards growing something, I'm hoping to be able to help you as well. So that's pretty much the goal of this show. And we're going to be coming at you every single morning, weekday mornings at least. We're going to do 6:45 until we're out of things to talk about. So that may be about 6:47 this morning. But yeah, we're just going to see how this goes, and hopefully people will enjoy it and you can get some value out of this. And yeah, so not quite sure what I'm going to talk about this morning. That will probably be a running theme. We're just going to kind of go with the flow. We are going to have a live call-in number, and we're going to take calls at some point. Of course, if anybody has any questions or anything they want to talk about, feel free to drop it in the chat. I've got that thing right here to the side so I can see whatever's going on. And yeah, just feel free to reach out. Give me a shout if you have anything you want to talk about. Until the day that I get 1 viewer, 2 viewers, anything like that, I'm just going to sit here and ramble on. And even on the day when I have 1,000 viewers, I'll probably just be sitting here and rambling on. So I guess I'll go into my company that I'm currently working on, my popcorn company called What's Poppin'. So I'll tell you how I started What's Poppin', and we'll kind of go from there. That will at least give you a general idea of, where I'm at. Right off the bat, if you follow this channel at all, you'll probably know that I am a small business owner. I'm an extremely very small business owner. I'm still really working to get my feet on the ground and really turn this into something that is generating a lot of income. And obviously, most entrepreneurs are trying to get there as well, to the point where they're generating a good bit of income. And we all jump into entrepreneurship wanting to, be self-sustainable, be able to do our own thing. And it's definitely not as easy as it seems, but I do think that it's definitely possible, and there is an end in sight for success, and it just takes a lot of grinding, it takes a lot of dedication, and really it takes learning from other entrepreneurs that have already done this. So hopefully on this show we're going to be interviewing other entrepreneurs. We're going to be talking to people who have already been down these roads and done this. We're going to hopefully get some ideas from them and learn how they're doing business, and hopefully we're going to grow our own businesses. I want to be able to show you my journey as an entrepreneur. So like I said this morning, I'll start kind of with where I'm at with the popcorn things. I want to tell you about a couple other businesses that I have. One of the things that I say often, it's not all sunshines and rainbows. It's definitely a struggle, and but it is doable. At least from what I can tell, it's definitely doable. And I think the best way to do that is to learn from other people, start an open discussion, and work together and be helpful. So let's start with the popcorn company. Basically, that's called What's Poppin'. I essentially started that in 2019 when COVID hit, and basically I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to be able to keep my job at the time. It was a 9-to-5 manual labor job. I really didn't like the job. I did enjoy the people I worked with, but the job itself, I was just miserable at it. I really didn't enjoy it. And I would say that's probably similar story to a lot of entrepreneurs. It started off as, you just kind of started a side hustle, in the hopes that you'd be able to grind out of your 9 to 5. So I was able to do that. If you've seen the channel, I have a long stream of videos where I was working towards building up to leaving that job. And you'll kind of see as you go along here, or as you scroll through this channel, I've put a lot of irons in the fire. That's still something I'm sure we'll be talking about this at some point. I have a ton of irons in the fire, and arguably it's too many irons in the fire because not one of them has become a real success yet. So even though I'm making money off of the popcorn company, if you look at my business profile through my state, you'll see that, I've got like 10 LLCs. So I've started a bunch of businesses trying many different things, and either I've lost interest in them or they didn't turn out to be what I thought they were going to be. So really the only one that is actively making me any money is the popcorn business, and that's making me a decent bit of money, enough that I can sit here at 6:45 and be talking to you guys. So it's positive because I'm able to start building that life that I'm trying to build. At the same time, I would like it to be a lot more so I could be a lot more comfortable. But it's all a process, and I'm super happy, and I definitely understand that, we've got a long way to go with that, and hopefully with other businesses as well. So, basically, I started that in 2019 during COVID. When COVID first hit, I didn't know if I was even going to be able to keep my job because everything was shutting down, and who knows what was going on. So let me make sure my mic is going. Okay, looks like we're good. But anyway, so started in 2019, and essentially they sent out the first stimulus check. The government sent out a $600 stimulus check, and I had started at farmers markets, when I was a lot younger. I was like 18 or 19, and I had actually gone on a trip to Ecuador where I had like just totally fallen in love with like a, organic produce type of deal. When I was in Ecuador, it was basically just like, you were getting fresh produce, fresh meat all the time. You go right into town, and like, it was just a totally different experience than it is here in the United States. And so I got, minorly obsessed with organic produce and, really paying attention to what you're putting in your body. When I was there for a month. I dropped like 30 pounds, and of course I was like working outside and doing farm activities, but also dropped a ton of weight just because it was a really positive and healthy environment to be in as far as the food you're eating. And so when I got back to the States, that had really set me on this path of like, I want to do something in getting organic food to people, especially people that need it badly. And we'll get into that. I have some businesses that I'm trying to center around that still. And, it's been 10 years easily since I got back from that. So basically, I was working these farmers markets. So when I got back from Ecuador, I literally just Craigslist job searched. Of course, I'd gone back and forth to college. Really never was my thing. I did end up getting a 1-year certificate in criminal justice, but obviously I'm not a corrections officer, as you can tell. I don't even correct my own actions most of the time, so I'm not correcting other people's actions. But yeah, I did go to school for a little while, but that was never really my thing. I didn't do very well at it. But so I'd worked farmers markets, and I'd seen through selling the produce so let me back up here. So I got back from Ecuador, I got on Craigslist, and I literally just searched organic produce. I found an organic produce farm. It was about 40 minutes away from my house at the time. I was like, awesome, this will be great. I met a guy named Kip. He was like your typical farmer, nicest dude on the planet, very happy-go-lucky. He loved what he did. He loved being outside. it was a very contagious atmosphere of happiness there. All the employees just seemed super thankful to be able to be there, be able to be making this produce. And so quickly I kind of switched from being the, tractor guy out harvesting in the field, planting the produce and picking the produce. I think fairly quickly my boss realized that I was good at talking to people and really good at interacting with customers. So then he started sending me to farmers markets, and so that was in Washington D.C. So I'd go into the city and I'd sell at these farmers markets for about 3-ish hours, 2 to 3 hours depending on the market, and constantly he would definitely make a killing. At least his produce was expensive. He certainly wasn't like rich, crazy ballin' by any means, but he was making pretty decent money, at least off of those products. And oftentimes there was, there would be a kettle corn vendor there. And so I saw that, and I knew they always had a ridiculously huge line, and they were always killing it. So that may have been what really got the wheels turning in my head when, fast forward years later, the farm job wasn't paying the bills, even though I did love that job. I did end up leaving that job. I went and took another manual labor job, which at some point I'm sure I'll talk about, but I took another manual labor job, and that was more of a landscaping job. We were actually doing stump removal and, odd manual labor jobs. This company did a bunch of things. They had a bunch of dump trucks. We'd haul loads. We do asphalt. We do minor landscaping, but it was mostly focused around stump removal. And so again, same general idea. When I was at that company, I worked out in the field. Literally, I was in fields. I would work out there, and then my boss figured out pretty quickly that I was really good at talking to the customers and actually selling jobs. So he would have me go around, knock on doors if we saw a stump, and a lot of times I'd be able to sell that. And so again, I kind of just ended up in front of customers. And then I switched jobs out of that again. I got a really awesome opportunity at a commercial renovation company. I still do somewhat work with that company. I got a great relationship with them, and I still do help them a lot of the times. That company is called American Exteriors. They're in Lorton, Virginia. And they do mostly commercial renovations on like large scale buildings in like DC, Maryland, Virginia. But a large bulk of their work is in DC. So I was a salesman. It's a small company, so salesman / project manager. If you got a sale, you were basically in charge of making sure that job ran smoothly. So I did that, and then that was a ridiculously long commute. And did end up leaving that job, even though I stayed on super good terms with the owner. And I came back to it eventually. And that's, we'll get into that in a little bit. But anyway, so I left that job. I went and got another manual labor job. I wasn't selling anything. I was working for the county, so it was a government job. And basically, I was a parks maintenance worker. And that's when COVID hit. So I worked that for about a year and a half. COVID hits, we get a stimulus check, and I'm like, they were shutting the parks down for weeks at a time. I didn't know if we were all going to keep our jobs. I was worried about income. So we got the stimulus check, and I was like, you know what? I got to find a way to be able to generate my own income. By this time, I had definitely been dabbling heavily in entrepreneurship. I had already started a company with a friend. We didn't end up seeing eye to eye. We're still great friends and everything, the guy that I started that company with, but we didn't end up seeing eye to eye on that exactly, so he did end up buying me out. But by this point, I was already deep into the entrepreneurial side of things. I knew that I wanted to be a business owner. I was still just kind of finding my direction. I still am finding my direction, but excuse me. But so basically, you know what? Okay. Nope. Okay. So anyway, we so had that job, and I was working for the county. Decided I needed to leave. Decided I wanted to leave, and then COVID. I was working towards leaving regardless. COVID hits. We get a $600 stimulus check, and I took that, and I was like, you know what? I want to get back into the farmers market scene. Those are always really fun. I always really loved interacting with the customers. Um, on a side note, and hopefully I'll make a video about this at some point, and you'll probably hear me harp on this, but farmers markets were such a great start for me. Like when I was like 18, 19, and I started that, I definitely wasn't particularly shy, but I didn't really have like a great experience of like face-to-face interaction with customers. And even though, a decent bit of stuff I've done now is like online sales, still, I think starting off with that solid base of like, every single weekend having a face-to-face interaction with customers, it first of all kind of helped me open up a little bit, and it gave me just a really solid foundation to be able to sell, and just be comfortable talking to people and selling a product. And like that was easy because it basically sold itself. People were there looking for organic produce, and that's what I had. So it was really easy to talk to customers. Farmers markets, I just highly recommend them if you're like starting off and you're looking to get more comfortable talking to people, selling to people. That's such a good atmosphere because people come to the farmers market and they're looking for things to buy. Number one, they want to support you. They want to support the small guy that's got the 10 by 10 tent and 2 tables set up. That's what they're looking for. So if you can provide that for them, you can be that guy. They're more than happy to support you. And, most time people will show up with a big smile on their face and they'll leave even happier because that's what they're there for. So if you currently, have a product that could fit the bill of a farmer's market, that is something that I highly, highly recommend because I just think that it was a super valuable skill to have really early on. And I was lucky enough that, I just kind of lucked into starting with farmers markets. So I still do, a little bit, but we'll get into that later. So anyway, we get the first stimulus check, and I decided I wanted to get back in the farmers market scene. And I was just kind of figuring out what I wanted to sell at farmers markets, and popcorn has always consistently been my absolute favorite food. And so I was like, you know what? It dawned on me, those kettle corn guys, they were always killing it. Honestly, didn't even really like kettle corn. I was way more of a fan of like buttered popcorn. But I just decided, you know what? Those guys were always slaying it, and I absolutely love popcorn. And I always made stovetop popcorn. I was like, I bet you I can figure out making it in this huge kettle. So the night that I decided that I'm going to be, I was looking for a popcorn kettle, I got on eBay. I happened to find, sorry, I got crazy allergies today. But anyway, so I happened to find a kettle on eBay. It was $600, exactly the amount of the first stimulus check. It was a full setup. It came with kernels, came with a little bit of sugar, came with the popcorn kettle, came with the tray, came with the scoopers and, measuring cups and the stir stick. Everything I needed. It was in South Carolina, and so that's a good couple states away from me. But I was super excited. I put a bid on it. I'd honestly forgotten I put a bid on it. It was, it was like, whatever, $575, $550. So I bid on it, $600. And I honestly kind of forgot about it. I didn't expect to win it. There was still, like 13, 14 hours left on the thing when I put the bid on it. And I was sure, it was going to jump up as the auction got closer to ending. And, but I did put that bid out there. And then, of course, I'm at work the next morning. It's like, 6:30, 6:45 in the morning. And I get a notification on my phone. And it's like, you won an auction. And I'm thinking, what auction did I win? And then, well, I totally remembered that I had put a bid on that popcorn kettle. And I won that. So that was May 28th. May 29th was my birthday. I messaged the guy, said I'm on the way. Got in a pickup truck. Took about an 8-hour drive down and go get this popcorn kettle. Meanwhile, having no idea what I was doing, how to stir popcorn or anything like that. I just knew that I had seen other people do it in the past, and it was, a pretty decent thing to do. So I went down and drove and got that kettle. And the guy was super nice. He showed me roughly, roughly told me how he makes his corn. Got home, hooked up the propane tank, and immediately popped a batch of popcorn. It turned out halfway decent. Still not nearly as good as what I do now, but it popped. And that was awesome. I totally, still remember that day popping the first batch of popcorn. My whole family's thinking, what in the world? Why do we have this enormous popcorn kettle here? But it was awesome. Hold on one second. Let me see if I could pause this. I don't even know if that's possible or not. I'm just dying of allergies, so that's miserable. But it doesn't matter. So basically, started popping with that, and the first thing I did was I reached out to some more local, not the DC markets, but some more local markets that I knew that my old boss, the guy that sold at the farmers markets, the produce guy, I knew that he was selling there. So I ended up reaching out to them saying, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I used to sell produce at you guys' market, and I'm interested in coming back and being a kettle corn guy. So I got some really good responses from that. I guess I reached out to 3 different markets. All 3 of them said, yeah, we got room for a popcorn vendor, and we're happy to have you on board. So I started with that, and I was doing pretty decently. At this point, I was still popping. Well, at this point, this was the very beginning, but I was still popping in my driveway. So I was at home, and sheesh, good thing nobody's watching this because I'm just an allergic mess. Good lordy, sorry about that. So anyway, I was still popping at home, and there's a couple mistakes I made right off the bat that I'm still kind of learning and struggling with. But basically, when I started, I was doing the kettle corn, but I immediately was like, okay, people are going to want kettle corn. They're going to want caramel corn. They're going to want cheese popcorn. They're going to want butter popcorn. And, of course, I started messing with the different kettle corn flavors. So my first year, I had like 14 available flavors. And that quickly, I realized, so I'm going to farmers markets. You never had any idea how much you're going to sell, right? So some markets, I'd end up selling 65 to 80 bags of popcorn. I've had a great day. I was selling for $6 a bag. And then other times I'd sell like 15 bags. It was really extremely weather dependent. And my thing was, I was still working the full-time job. So basically Friday evenings, my biggest market was a Saturday. So Friday I'd get off of work. By the time I got the kettle cleaned, got everything ready to roll, it would already be into the evening. By the time I popped enough bags of popcorn, it would be, 11 o'clock, 12:30, something like that. It would be getting late. Then I'd come in, I had a movie theater, still do. I have a movie theater popper. I'd start with the butter-flavored popcorn. I'd start with, cheddar cheese popcorn and all that. And it ended up, I'd be up until like 3:30 in the morning, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with grinding and getting your product out there. But I think it just ended up being less, it was just too much, and I never knew how many to bring. So I'd always have like all of these bags, and of course I never wanted to sell any of them, beyond a week. So it's not like I could save them for the whole week and go to the market because I want to sell fresh, good product. And so anyway, I was making decent money, and it was obviously enough to keep me around in the popcorn game. But also at the same time, I was going around and just really pushing kettle corn and, trying to see who would be interested in buying it. And I was lucky enough that, like, really early on, like within, I don't know, 1 to 2 months, uh, this, this is crazy. I'm dying. But yeah, so like 1 to 2 months, I landed a really good wholesale client, and that's actually a kind of a good story on how that came about. There was an orchard that was like 10 minutes away from my house at the time, and I knew they were killing it. They were, I'd always drive past them. They always had a ridiculous amount of customers. Really beautiful inside, like nearly brand new store. But they'd been in business for a long time. They just renovated their store. This huge building, huge, beautiful farm. I mean, it was awesome. Still is awesome. Uh, so I knew that, like, I really would love to sell popcorn in their market, and it kind of seemed to fit in with what they were doing. And I knew that that was close enough. It was easy to do, so I wanted to get in there big time. So this is a way, and I still do this all the time. Basically, what I did is I took some popped bags of popcorn, and I slapped a label on them. I walked right into the store, and I just said, "Hey, would you be willing to try this? And if you like it, would you be willing to put it in the store and start selling it?" And there's a young girl there that I think they hire, like, either high school kids or early college kids, and so a young lady came up, saw that I had my arms full of popcorn. It's like, "Oh yeah, we'd love to try it. We'd love to try it." And I'll give this to the owner, and we'll see what she says. So anyway, I didn't hear back for about a week, and I was like, dang, I didn't know what was going on. So I called, and it just so happened that I got, I guess, the same girl that I'd given the popcorn to, and she said, "Oh yeah, I remember you." She was like, "Let me get you on with the owner." But she was like, to be honest with you, the product it wasn't that good. It was really old, or there was something going on with it. There was something wrong. Like, it had a decent flavor, but there was something wrong. And we all agreed that there was something off about it. So that was really hard because, like, although yeah, I was in the very beginning, I still thought I made a pretty good product. And so I was able to talk to the owner, and I said, like, "Hey, I realized quickly what I had done wrong, and now this is something that, it was just a learning experience." But I basically had popped that when it was raining outside. So I was under a tent, and it was raining when I popped the bags that I gave to her. And I've learned now that the popcorn just soaks the moisture up like a sponge. So if you pop and it's at all, like, humid or moist out there, you either got to bag it up ridiculously quickly, or you're not going to get a good product because it's going to be a little bit soggy because, the popcorn just loves the moisture. It's like a sponge. And so that's what had happened. I had popped outside in the rain, didn't know that it had, caused problems to the product, and gave her the product. And I was lucky enough then that I was super lucky that I called, because, I assume they would have probably never called and just been like, "Well, this is junk." But I called, and, basically I said, "Hey, would you be willing to try it again? I know I make a good product. I'm just starting out here, and I don't know what happened, but, like, people do love this stuff. I sell it at the farmers markets all the time, and I get really good feedback. Will you give me another shot?" So they agreed that, yeah, they'll give me another shot, and still super thankful for that. That was great, and I did pop again. And then I got a phone call, and they said, "Hey, we love this. This is really good." And they, it's still kind of sad because, of course, I wanted to correct them, but I just figured I'll leave well enough alone. But she said, "Yeah, it just seemed like the other bags were just really old." And it had already dawned on me at that point that they weren't old; they were brand new. I had popped them the day before, but they just got waterlogged, basically. So anyway, I started the relationship with them, and she started wholesaling hundreds of bags a week. So, well, I mean, maybe like 150, but still, that was like huge, and this was another thing that this was another huge blessing, and I think it's, you know, a learning experience. It was certainly a learning experience for me, and I lucked out in the sense that the owner was super good to me. I had no idea. I'd never wholesaled anything in my life. I had no idea how to go about doing it. And so when she decided she did want to buy the product, uh, she said, "Yeah, you know what? We'll start stocking this in the store. What do you charge per bag?" And I was like, "Man, that's a really good question. I have no idea what I charge per bag because I've never done anything like this before." So she said, "Well, why don't you think about it, you know, and let me know what you want to do a wholesale bag for, and we'll see if we can work something out." So I said, like, you know, I appreciate that. Let me kind of run my numbers, see where I'm at, and see what I can do a bag for. And I said, typically I charge $6 when I'm at the farmers markets, and that's kind of the margin that I want to be at is, you know, $6 a bag, and but I'll see, you know, what I can shave off of there to make it work for both of us. And thank God for this woman. Thank God for good people. You know, she said to me, she's like, you know, I'm going to be honest with you. You're obviously just starting out here. She's like, I'm going to take this product and I'm going to mark this up to $8 a bag. So she said, I want to make at least $1.50 per bag. So take that and do what you will with it. And so I figured, you know what? I'm happy at $6 a bag. That's a great margin for me. That's a solid wholesale price. She said she wants to make $1.50 absolute minimum on the bags. You know, she's been honest with me. She's been really good to me and has decided to buy this product. Why would I upcharge at $6.50 when I'm selling to people at the market working way harder for $6? So I just said, you know what? I'll wholesale a bag for $6 a bag to you. And she has reliably been since that day. She's reliably been during you know, orchard farmers market season. She's been buying over 100 bags every weekend, and you know, she's been like kind of a staple customer for us, and has helped me get through a lot of times in the business where, you know, I wasn't doing the farmers markets and all that type of stuff. And really, that pushed me in the direction of like realizing that wholesale is the way to go for me personally in that business, at least, because I was spinning my wheels. I was grinding so hard to produce all these different flavors, and I was coming home with like, you know, I was you know, making like, I don't know, between 150 and $300 on a weekend, depending on how many markets I did. You know, which was like not bad. I mean, it was $150 to $300 that I didn't have before, so I was happy as a clam. But I did end up realizing that, you know, really the way to go is to find additional wholesale clients, because really all you have to do at that point is make the product, bag the product, and then send it in. You know, and it's already sold, it's already paid for, and then they put it in their storefront. So it's not like it was before, where I was popping, then loading everything up, putting it in the truck, sitting out there for 4 hours, and you know, hoping that a lot of the product sold. So that did kind of make me start leaning in towards wholesale. Still, I did farmers markets for a long time. I think honestly, I kind of burned myself out with that because I was so excited that, like, great, I've started this business. I'm still doing my 9 to 5 job, but I've started this business. I want to get out of this 9 to 5 so bad. So I think honestly, I bit off a little more than I could chew. I ended up doing a Tuesday market, a Thursday market, Friday market. No. Sorry. I did Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I was doing 4 markets. I had a girlfriend, now my wife, and it was really hard working the 9 to 5, even though really it was a 6 to 3. But, you know, working the 40-hour week full-time job, meanwhile trying to, you know, spend the hours popping all this product and then taking it to these different markets. I just kind of got burned out from the farmers market scene, and I really realized I wanted to just focus way more on wholesale. And so from there, basically, I I did the popcorn thing for a long time. You'll see on my channel, I started escaping the neon at the time because I knew I wanted to leave the 40-hour week job, and at this point I was making money on popcorn, and I was going to focus on that to get out of that job. I did end up doing that. You'll see some videos on there. But meanwhile, and again, I touched on this earlier, I definitely struggle with, you know, focusing on one business. I tend to get super excited about starting other ventures, and then, I'll either get 90% of the way there with something and then switch directions, and, or I'll start a company and then I just won't focus that heavily on it, or won't give it the time and attention it needs. So you'll see if you watch the Escaping the Neon series, I'm all over the board. I had a dropship coffee company, which, that made money. It started doing fairly well for me. And I just kind of realized, like, my heart's really not in this, and I didn't feel right about selling the coffee because I wasn't, the end producer of the coffee. I wasn't roasting the beans. And I never explicitly said that I was roasting the beans, but I was definitely implying that I was the creator of this product. And I knew in my heart that wasn't true. I wasn't creating the product. I wasn't the roaster. All I did was take a product that was, drop shippable. I made my own brand, and then I was selling the brand. I was selling the idea. Now, I will say, this coffee that this dude had, and still has, if you're interested in it, let me know. But starting your own dropship coffee thing, that is. And I got a couple videos on that as well. But that was seriously the best coffee I've ever had in my life. Clearly, I really do enjoy some coffee. I put a lot of time and energy into finding a really good dropshipper with a really solid product. And I will say, this dude was killing it. He had a really good product. And video for another time or another morning. But I did end up trying to sell the coffee at farmers markets, and I really wanted to get into the food side of things. I really enjoy cooking. You'll also see I've got some live streams of cooking. I think I got some recipe videos on the channel. I'm going to be adding to that as well as I go along. But but anyway, so I did try to do that at the farmers market. Ended up, I was just taking on way too much, and I was like, you know what, I really need to take a step back and focus on what's making me the bulk of my money. It's the Pareto principle, right? The 80-20 rule. I was spending 80% of my time spinning my wheels. That 20% of the time that I was spending popping the wholesale orders, that's what was making me money, and or good money at least. And I wasn't focusing enough on that, and I really just got burned out, and I took way too much on. And I couldn't keep up with it, and ended up just saying, all right, you know what, I'm not going to do farmers markets anymore. I'm going to do wholesale, and that's that. And also at that time, so I did end up leaving the parks job. And of course, I have a video on this as well, but I left the parks job. I was really nervous. I hadn't gotten exactly to where I wanted to be with the whole Escaping the Neon series. I was hoping to be making a little more money, but I was at least comfortable enough that I knew I'd be making at least what I was making at my manual labor job off the popcorn. Now, the caveat there is popcorn season wasn't year-round, still isn't year-round, and, the real good money from my wholesale clients comes in for, basically from May till, a little bit after Thanksgiving. And then, it's winter vacation, if you will. Definitely not a vacation, but you get the point. Winter break. And so I knew I'd have to be struggling through that if I want to make it work. But anyway, so I did end up leaving that job. And literally the day that I left that job, like I mentioned earlier, I've kept a great relationship with every company I've ever worked at. And I don't know if that's personality or just dumb luck, but no matter what, so I really kept in great contact with my old boss and the owner of that company at the commercial renovation company. He called me the day I left the parks, and I still talk to him frequently. And while I was working at the parks, and he was my good buddy. And he called me and he was like, "Hey man, I want you to come back. I know, you've left your job to go be an entrepreneur. And I'll never forget the way he worded this. He said to me, he was like, "Look, man, you're leaving," and he's like, "What you've got? You've got a little sapling, or you got a little seedling, and you're trying to water that, and you're trying to give it sunlight, and you're trying to help it grow, because you want it to provide you some shade." And he said, "I think it will provide you some shade. I think it definitely could. If you keep watering it for years and growing it, you're gonna have a big, healthy tree." He said, "But right now, I'm getting close to thinking about retirement. I don't have a succession plan for the company. I don't have anybody that wants to run or take the company over. I'm offering you a full-grown oak tree. If you come back, work with us. I'll show you the ropes of how to run this business. When you're here before, you were a salesman and a foreman. I want you to come back and start learning my role as a business owner. And, I want you to end up with this business eventually." So, again, I knew I wanted to be a business owner. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And that fit the bill really well for me. And, the way he explained it, I'm like, heck yeah, that sounds really good. I knew he was making great money, even though I was happy with the popcorn money. I knew he did really well. And so I figured, okay, I'm going to, how can I say no to this, right? He's offering me a thriving business that I've worked in before, and I know, a decent bit about. Sorry about this. Again, it's a good thing we have no viewers. But anyway, so we talked, and we decided, all right, I'm gonna come back. And at first, this is a thing. Hey, look, there he is right there. There's a picture of him right behind me. That's the guy I'm talking about, Big D, Daniel, and he was the owner of that company. And he said, "Come on back, and I'm going to show you the ropes. I'm going to show you how to run this business. You're going to end up with this business." So we worked together on that. Like I said, I still do kind of work there. And I was there for about a year and a half. It's probably been about a year and a half now. But unfortunately, I made the mistake of never getting anything in writing. And you can probably tell where this is going. Unfortunately, we lost him. He suffered from a stroke while he was in the office, and we ended up losing him at the hospital a day or two later. And so, when the dust had settled from that, I came to the office. It's like 6 people in the office there, 6 like full-time employees, and then there's a lot of subcontractors. And so we had a big meeting, with everybody at the table there. And of course I said, hey, I'm looking to buy the company. That was what Daniel and I were going to do in the beginning. And, I'd like to see if I can figure out how to buy this company now. Of course, I knew it was going to be a lot more complicated because Daniel wasn't around anymore, and that would mean, buying it from his estate or whatever. I knew there'd be a lot of attorneys involved, but long and short is none of that ever happened because there was a long-term employee. She was the secretary and the vice president of that company. She decided she wanted to buy the company. That was, totally fine. Basically, I thought to myself, like, I love that guy like a brother, Daniel, who had owned the company, and I know that he really liked both of us. And I knew the last thing he would ever want is for her and I to be in any kind of pissing match with each other, if you will, or have any animosity towards one another. So I decided to just kind of back off. I said, all right, if you don't want me to buy the company, that's totally fine. It didn't make any sense to me as to, because she had been talking about retirement for a long time as well. And, it didn't seem like she really wanted to be growing the company or anything like that. But, so be it. That's what she wanted to do. So I just kind of took a step back. Like I said, I am still working there. And, a little bit, like I'm just helping out basically because, I have no hard feelings towards them at all. I want to see them succeed. The guys that still work there, I love those guys, and, I want to see them continue to have a job. and continue to thrive even beyond Daniel. So I'm definitely still helping out. Unfortunately, what I saw as a really great opportunity, entrepreneurial opportunity to own a business, you know, that didn't pan out as I'd hoped. But that's okay. I think a big part of this is just kind of shifting directions and being able to act on the fly depending on the situation that you're in. So I did have to obviously alter my game plan uh, in that because I wasn't going to own that business. So what I did end up doing was, I hold all the licenses for that company. I taken, it's an extremely in-depth test to get licensing in the states that we worked in. So I did end up going and applying. I started my own contracting company, and I applied for licensing. That takes a ridiculous amount of time, and it's less. At this point, it's just like how many hoops are you willing to jump through to make this happen? Which I think you'll find a lot of times in starting businesses. It is just like that. Like, are you willing to deal with like these stupid, piddly little things that you got to cross your T's and dot your I's, and if not, they're going to flip it back to you, your applications, whatever it is. They're going to send that back to you like 300 times. So that's what I'm doing right now, is dealing with that. But it did end up starting my own contracting company. And honestly, the main reason that I did that was because I didn't know how the buyout process was going to work with the vice president, who ended up being the one to want to buy the company. Didn't know how that was going to work out, and I was worried. I still am worried that that wasn't going to work out, and the rest of the company was going to be out of a job. I wanted to have a company that could step right up and start doing the projects, so kind of be a seamless transition from the original company to a new company. So that was kind of my thought process behind that. Of course, when I started that company, I had ended up, I had a decent bit saved from the parks job and the popcorn, and I was doing fairly decently, but ended up having to pay for insurance and bonds and licensing and all this, and it ended up costing me to start this. It ended up costing thousands of dollars, and it's still not fully started yet, unfortunately. Hopefully it will be within at least a month. But so that did really, that gave a pretty big hit to me, because at the time, and still, I'm back to stirring popcorn. I've decided I do not want to take another 9-to-5 job. I have got to make this work with the income that I have, be able to grow this and build the life that I want. Obviously, that's a huge struggle. Learning, growing every day, trying to figure out what the best ways to go are. But basically, I have decided to really kind of focus in on the popcorn thing, even though that's like extremely hard for my brain to do. But that's since it is actively making me pretty good money. I am going to focus down on that. So with that, I'm popping on the roadside now. So like I live on a fairly busy road. I looked up the traffic data, and if I could pull 1 out of every 10 cars going down the road, I would make something like 200 grand or something. So I'm obviously nowhere close to pulling 1 out of 10 cars off the road to buy popcorn from me, but in the 2 weekends that I've done the live popping on the roadside, I just put some signage out. I'll talk more about that later, I'm sure, but I've had fairly good weekends, and so that's just kind of supplemental until wholesale starts back up, and we really get rolling with things like that. So there'll be a couple of other things that I'll be trying with the popcorn stuff. One of the things that I just did, shout out to my brother, he helped me with this, but I started putting a QR code on every single label, and there's a couple things that I want to go into, but the popcorn specifically, I wanted to put a video of me actually hand stirring the popcorn. I wanted to say thank you to the customers, and I wanted to show them how it's made, because it is a cool, fun process to watch. if you look on my channel, you can actually see that video. I think it's public, and I think it's just called like "Thanks for supporting." So you can see the general idea that I was going with there, is just to thank the customers, because like truly I am thankful, and the process is fun to watch. So if they don't get to see it live on the roadside, I converted a shed, which I wish I could like put photos in this live stream here. But if you want to see some, comment on here. But when I bought this house, which that's a whole nother stream. I'm doing a house hack. Check the video out on that. See what the house hack is. But anyway, when I bought this property, there's two sheds and a shipping container, and then a big garage here as well. I took one of those sheds, and I found a neighbor with this huge piece of machinery, and so he lifted the shed up with this big boom lift and brought it up to the top of the hill up near the roadside. I caulked the entire thing, painted the whole thing, pressure washed it, really prettied it up, and I'm working on turning that into a self-serve farm stand. So I'm going to start with the popcorn in there. It's going to be a self-serve type of deal where I have my Venmo QR code in there. I got a cash box with not a lot of cash in it, and then I got a PayPal link. And I guess I did have like 3 people stop by so far, because I had posted on social media. I used Nextdoor, and a couple people did come by and buy popcorn from that stand, but that really didn't work like I'd hoped it to. But obviously I'm still working on that. It will work eventually. But I was really, I don't know what I was pipe dreaming on, but I was thinking like, oh yeah, I'm going to set this stand up and people are just going to roll up here, and but there's a lot of different factors. At some point I'll go into the situation I got going with my neighbor. He's got a crazy situation going on there. He's definitely a bit of a hoarder, and he's got a fence that's like obviously right up against my property, and his stuff looks scary. He's got like this dilapidated school bus and just like tons of junk and scrap metal like right at the fence line. And I do think that kind of makes customers be like, what in the hell? Like, where am I? And of course, my shed is like right by that fence line. So I think that throws people off a little bit. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So the shed didn't work as I had originally planned. I was really hoping people just show up, start buying popcorn from it. But that definitely didn't happen. But then I started doing these roadside pops, where basically I ordered a kettle corn sign on Amazon, and like a couple of just like 12 by 14 like lawn signs that you'll see, like the political ones. So I ordered some blank ones of those, and I wish I had one here in front of me, but basically I just went 3 miles in one direction and said kettle corn 3 miles to the left, 2 miles the other direction, kettle corn 2 miles to the right, and then I lined the driveway with these little arrows. Well, I can't say I lined the driveway, but I got 3 of these little arrows telling people where to go, where to pull into. I got a big triangle road sign that I set right at the apron of the driveway. Very bright, very colorful. It just says kettle corn, and then it's got an arrow pointing into the driveway. I got another sign I haven't even put up yet. It's like a big 3 foot tall by 10 foot long sign. I'm going to put it in the yard for when I'm actually out there popping. And then I'm just pretty constantly hitting the local social media pages. One of the things that I really, really hate, well, not necessarily really hate, but like, I just don't think people like this. I don't think it does your business any good. Maybe I could be wrong, but I can't stand the people that are on their Facebooks and, whatever, and just promoting, whatever business it is that they do. I'm all for promotion, but, and I'm all for getting customers and telling people what you're doing, but I don't want to blow up, my personal friends' feeds with like, oh, popcorn guy selling popcorn all the time, all day, every day. I have people on my Facebook, personal trainers and, whatever, who's ever got caught up in, terrible pyramid schemes that are constantly posting, check this out, here's my latest update. And like, I just think it's annoying. And I think, I don't think it really gets you any sales. And I think people just are kind of like, this guy is a goober. And so I don't want to be that guy. So I'm not constantly posting on my personal social medias, but I have no problem going to like, group pages for like local groups that may be interested in, kettle corn. So I've been hitting that really hard. I have been using the Nextdoor app since I'm obviously selling from my house, and which, if you're curious about, is definitely totally legal. It's called Cottage Food Industry. It's totally worth looking into if non-hazardous foods are something you're interested in selling. Look up the cottage food laws in your state or wherever you are, and probably give you a little food for thought at the very least. So anyway, I'm selling from my house, and I'm hitting Nextdoor, and I've got a decent bit of customers coming from Facebook groups and Nextdoor, but I still think the bulk of anybody stopping has been just setting up the kettle corn signs in the road, and people just driving by on a pleasant Saturday, Sunday, whatever, and like, you know what, I'm gonna get some kettle corn, I'm gonna try that, and had a ton of people just super excited. It's so awesome to see, like, people truly love kettle corn. It's like a nostalgic thing for people. It's it's just, people just love it, and it's a good product. So they get super excited. I love to be able to bring that to people, and a lot of people just stop by and they're like, "Hey, this is awesome. I guarantee you'll see me again." And so I think I am building up a decent customer base around where I moved to, which is super exciting. And I'm still doing the exact same thing that I did when I started, as far as trying to find new wholesale customers. Just last week, I got another wholesale customer, small, but still decent and right up the road. And again, I just popped some extra bags of popcorn, walked into their store with my arms full of popcorn, and I said, "Hey, would you be interested in selling this?" I said, "Give it a try, no pressure at all, but if you like it, my number's on the bag. Please reach out. I'm happy to get you some wholesale bags." He didn't even crack the bag open. He said, "You know what? Go bring me 10 bags. Let's see if they sell this weekend." So I know he's only open on Saturdays. He's like got a produce market, small produce market. And anyway, so I'm going to go see him on Saturday, see how it's sold, and hopefully he's going to want some more bags. And then today, one of the people that just stopped at the roadside stand there told me, "Hey, have you checked out this place? It's about 10 minutes up the road. Small little local homestead place." Actually, I looked it up. It's actually it's a very large market that they have there, but they do a bunch of local products, and my product would fit in really, really well there. So as soon as I get off this live stream, basically, actually, I think they open at 3, but I am going to go up there today and see if I can get another wholesale customer potentially. So I'll keep you posted on that. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have some good news on that. But yeah, so I'll be going up there. I've been going to breweries. Just went to one. I got an event out of that, so that's awesome. I got a live event, which always goes really well for me. So I've got the live event coming up there, and I sent emails. Like when I first moved here, I sent emails to, there's a ton of breweries and wineries around here, and so I just sent out emails. If you're interested in seeing that email that I sent, I'm happy to give it out, and people can use it as a template for whatever they're trying to do. But I got a good response off of that, and I ended up landing, during the summertime at least, I ended up landing a good bit of live events at breweries and wineries, and so I'm super excited for that. And it's just one of those things where, like, you gotta ask, and it's really hard, like, getting out of your comfort zone and putting yourself out there and saying, "This is what I do and this is what I want to get done, and can you help me?" But once you start doing it, like, it gets easier as you go. You get more confidence, and you also, when they say no, which, like, it's not, not all sunshines and rainbows. When they say no, if they say no, you get enough yeses, you have the confidence to just know, like, hey, maybe this it's not going to work out. Maybe it's not for you, and that's totally fine. And you won't let that really affect your focus. You won't let that affect your confidence or your mentality or your psyche or whatever. It's not really going to get in the way, because for the people that are buying your product, it's a good thing, and it's doing them a service and doing well for them. For example, I stopped at a brewery that I go to all the time. It's like 6 minutes from my house, and I've definitely been known to go there on the weekends. And I talked to them before I moved in, and I said, like, hey, I do kettle corn. I saw how close they were. I was like, hey, I do kettle corn. If you guys are ever interested, let me know. And the lady was like, yeah, we'd love to do that. Never heard back. And I did bring popcorn again there. When I'd been here for a couple months, I brought some bags by, and the employees loved it. They were so excited about it. And, and ended up nothing ever happened from it. So they started selling coffee there. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get me a cup of coffee. I'm going to bring some popcorn. And I'm going to see if, if I can find the owner and see if they're interested. And when I talked to the owner, she was like, no, she's like, I don't want to put any products in here that are competing with my products, because they don't sell popcorn. They sell like, pretzels and, typical bar food. And she said, she didn't want to put a product in there that's going to cause her products not to sell. My thought process on that is that that doesn't quite make sense to me, because I would still, she would still certainly be making money. I bet you she'd still make the same margins if she wholesaled the popcorn from me and then sold it, marked it up, obviously. I think she'd still make the same margin on a pretzel, that she's doing the same thing, but she's not home making pretzels. She's definitely buying them, bulk wholesale prices from like a Costco type of deal or whatever, Food Pro, and then she's marking them up. So it'd be the same thing, but I think something got a little lost in translation on that one. And she, she's very gracious, and she said she really did like it, but she didn't really want to sell it all the time, which is totally fine. And I'm not going to argue it, and it totally is what it is. She did say, though, hey, I've got some events that might really work out well for you, and she gave me 2 events to do with them, coming up. One's in the fall, the other's actually like pretty soon, like 2 or 3 weeks. And so, still, that was a huge win. That's awesome. I get to do an event there. And while I'm there at that event, I hope to, kind of be able to build that relationship, grow that a little bit, and maybe at least put the seed in their ear of like, hey, you're probably going to be making more money than you're making on a, soft pretzel that you're selling. And, it's not like you're adding any additional work, and it's not detracting from your business. But, you know what? Again, doesn't really matter. I'm not that pressed on it, but, still, I'm not going to totally give up on it. And, because I think it could be a win-win for both of us. But if not, it is what it is. So anyway, so that's kind of been the type of marketing that I've done with the popcorn, and I'm really just getting into, the QR code thing on the bag. I'm trying to be more visible and like get out in front of the customers more. And I'll talk about this in a later show. But something I really am trying to focus on, and you'll see with this morning show, I'm really trying to focus on consistency. And so, I'm planning on being out there consistently, because like people need to know when you're going to be there and how they can find your product. I can't just do it like, my personality is very happy-go-lucky. I just kind of float along with the breeze and do what I please, which is awesome and good, and that's like definitely the life that I would like to live, but I'm not at the point yet where I think I can do that. And so I really need to hammer down on the consistency of, hey, I'm going to be out here every weekend. Every weekend that it's dry, I'm going to be out here hand stirring the popcorn in the driveway. And I can already tell that is going to build me up a solid customer base. And I know I'm going to make way more than I ever did at my manual labor job. Just, working the weekend roadside stand, selling kettle corn at the side of the road. So I think it's funny. I got a good laugh when I was sitting out there last Saturday, though, because I was like, man, like I've literally just started the adult version of a lemonade stand. It's like I'm earning better money than I ever did from a lemonade stand as a kid. But like I was definitely that kid out on the road selling lemonade for a quarter, and I was sitting out there and I'm like, I got the tent set up, I got the table. I'm like, damn, this is literally an adult lemonade stand. That's what I'm doing right now. But you know what? I love it, and I'm trying to build up a decent customer base. Um, and as you'll see here with this morning show, I'm trying to build up some people that are involved in this. I really hope that people start listening to this on a daily basis. I'm going to be coming on as of now. I'm going to be coming on at 6:45. I don't know if I'm going to do that earlier uh, in the future. I'd really like to come on at like 6:15. But we'll kind of see if we ever get any listeners or anything like that. But the goal of this year is basically to build a community. Hopefully people wake up alongside, well, maybe not right next to me, but hopefully people wake up with me, and we can talk about business, we can talk about entrepreneurship, we can talk about what you guys are doing out there to make it work, and I can keep telling you guys my story and what I'm doing to make it work and how I'm growing these small businesses into, the life that I want to live. And I'm sure you'll get to know more about the lifestyle that I'm trying to create. Put a lot of the back end work into this. I'm big on learning. I'm big on knowledge and growing myself and growing my businesses. And that's what I'm here to do. And I want to show you guys the process. I want to prove to you that it is definitely possible. You got me here who, like I said, I went to a little bit of college, but I got, 1 year degree. College was definitely never my thing. And, a lot of people get concerned that they're not going to be able to do something because they don't have college and they don't have the business knowledge or whatever. I don't buy into that. I think it's it's all stuff you can learn from other people that have done it. And you'll see I have an interview with a buddy of mine, but we interviewed him. I'm doing a morning AM radio show, which is really what got me into wanting to do the internet morning entrepreneur. Is doing that AM radio show, and I interviewed him, and kind of forget where I was going with this, to be honest with you, but he hits a lot on consistency, and and that really got the ball rolling for this show. So you'll see, we'll be coming at you every morning, and I hope that we can provide some value to some people, and I hope one day I'll see one viewer. That would be awesome. So anyway, I think that'll be where I'll leave this for today, and we'll be back tomorrow morning, and we'll talk a little bit more about what else we got going on. Like I said, I got a ton of businesses that I'm working on, some more so than others. A ton of things I'd love to talk about, and I hope you can get involved as well. So if you ever happen to stumble across this for whatever reason, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, give me a shout. We will be doing live call-ins at some point on the show, so stay tuned for that. But as of now, for the foreseeable future, you will see me on this computer at 6:45 in the morning, and we'll go until I'm out of things to talk about, which would basically be never. But I'll cut this off around 8 o'clock, and just kind of go from there. So anyway, I want to thank you all so much. Anybody that ever found this thing, thank you, and hope to see you on the next one.